They're going to get lined back up. If that happens again, he goes to the tail end of the field.
The track has been here since 1958.
And it's got to be side by side at the start-finish line.
And over time, Myrtle Beach Speedway has become part of racing history. The track and style of racing make for one of the more entertaining rides the sport can provide.
All I know is on short tracks, it's you're running as hard as you can at every lap. You know, it's they call it white knuckle driving. You know, you're up on the wheel, running hard at every lap, and you know, that's what's kind of fun about it.
Short track racing is kind of the grassroots. You know, there's a lot more close contact. There's a lot closer racing. It's totally different than what we do on the big side of you know, the mile-and-a-half tracks.
The track provides an experience different than most.
Borrow your pen for a second.
And at this level, fans have a chance to actually get to know some of the budding stars of the sport.
As a kid coming up to these things, I was always shy. You didn't want to get too close, but now, you know, you welcome the fans, you bring them in, you try to get them involved, and they seem to enjoy it.
You know, anytime that you can make an impact and you know, people recognize you and know who you are, you know, and it's you know, you feel very fortunate.
Just as for those two drivers, this grassroots racing landmark serves as an important rite of passage for any driver as history thrives on the roads of the Speedway.
Dale Earnhardt, Dale Jr., Richard Petty, they were all racing here. And we're getting to the point now where a lot of people want to come back to Myrtle Beach because of that history.
This is the track where you see a lot of young guys get their first start in racing, and you can see them come on right on up to the big league. Dale Jr.'s been here, Jeff Gordon, all of them been here, so it's a great place to be.
Dazzling performances by future Hall of Famers aside, the history of the raceway goes deeper than just those that take the track.
I started out coming whenever I was about 12 or 13, and came for a while. Had a little boy and remembered how much I enjoyed coming, so started bringing him.
I mean, I see a lot of fathers bringing their little kids out, you know, I think because, you know, their father brought them out at one point. You know, so there's a variety. I mean, we have a very wide range in our crowd.
And as racing interest has been making a comeback on the Grand Strand, the joy of getting out to one of the oldest landmarks in Myrtle Beach is becoming restored again.
It's got rich history. I think it's been, I mean, that's kind of our running motto is be a part of history. You know, we're bringing it back.
In an area filled with golf courses, sky wheels, and every form of entertainment under the sun, it's easy to overlook what's just a short trip away.
I think we're about one generation away from people losing interest entirely in what's going on in the outdoor world.
Longtime Department of Natural Resources biologist Jim Lee sees the symptoms every day and thinks he found the remedy.
This is part of the treatment. Getting outside.
Lee spends the majority of his time taking folks on tours many locals didn't even know about.
There's no mosquitoes on Mosquito Island.
Around a gigantic plot of land known as the Tom Yawkey Wildlife Center. More than 20,000 acres of wetlands and forests were donated to the state by the park's namesake. Tom Yawkey is most known for owning the Boston Red Sox, but took the most pride in his preservation and conservation efforts.
It's incredible to try to get into the depth of it in just a little excursion like this.
The short day trip takes outdoor enthusiasts to Yawkey's three most prized possessions, North Island, South Island, and Cat Island.
All of the forts here were abandoned by 1862.
There they'll see old Civil War forts, structures lost in time.
And there would have been hundreds of men stationed here.
And even the first landing point of Revolutionary War hero Marquis de Lafayette.
He said that he had time to travel about the island a little bit, and he could only describe it as the abode de Dieu, or the home of God or the house of God. And it really, really is that beautiful a place.
The educational adventure doesn't stop there.
St. James AME Church was built for the residents of Cat Island about 1928.
With stops at historic spots of South Carolina industry.
He's huge. Look at his head.
And trips through plots of land where humans are a little outnumbered. The tour bus also takes folks to see the places that were most special to Tom Yawkey himself. First, a quick stop at his hidden fishing spot, a place with a landscape so unique, it's the only spot in the world you'll find Stachys carolinea.
Really kind of a special treat to have this rare plant.
Then a little drive down the road, and tourgoers look at what used to be a big deal in the island community.
And now you're looking down about the third baseline here.
Not only did local teams play on this baseball field, but so did baseball legend Ty Cobb, a man Yawkey considered family.
One place that had remained kind of a constant in his life was South Island, and not only the place, but the people that made their home here.
They say no one's from here, everyone came here, and Tom Yawkey is a prime example of that. He made this place his home, and now years after he's passed away, he's still looking over it.
68 miles of South Carolina's coast right here in the middle is undeveloped. So between Myrtle Beach and Charleston, just this unbelievable stretch of undeveloped coastline.
For Tom Yawkey, that word, undeveloped, was special. So when he passed, he didn't just hand over these 20,000 acres to the state. This gift came with an instruction manual. Nature before people. No development, no general recreation, just preservation and conservation. Break the rules, and the Tom Yawkey Wildlife Foundation takes it all back.
It's not a golf course. There are no condominiums. You can see the different wildlife, and you can hear the history. You're exposed to it. It is very valuable.
That reaction from tourgoers is exactly what Tom Yawkey would want to hear. Yawkey saw how the world was changing and worried people would see less value in what's right out their front door.
They recognize the value of these places, not only the value of these places, but the value of sharing these places with others. Not just for their own well-being, but for kind of the well-being of society as a whole. It's kind of amazing.
So Yawkey's treatment is simple. Go outside, maybe even bring a friend, and relish what he saw as the most simple and enjoyable part of life.
Look at the little combo.
With photojournalist Michael Walter.
Look at there. Oh, wow.
Connor McHugh, WMBF News.
Memorial Day weekend marks the unofficial start to the busy summer season on the Grand Strand, and just 2 years ago, the holiday started just like any other. Drawn by the opportunity to get in an early Saturday morning run on the sand or a chance to catch the sunrise, visitors and locals alike made their way to the beach, including someone perched high above the water near 24th Avenue South, who noticed something out in the ocean just past the tide. As it turns out, that something was someone. A woman floating lifeless in the water. Lifeguards called to the scene, pulled the victim on shore and performed CPR. A short time later, the woman was pronounced dead at Grand Strand Medical Center. More than 2 years since that day, the woman still hasn't been identified.
Nobody has come close to matching the description of this lady and her tattoo.
A colorful, bright tattoo just above her left ankle, depicting 2 dolphins jumping out of the ocean in front of the sun. At the time she was found, the victim was wearing a floral print bathing suit top, gray shorts, and a t-shirt with the words "Sail Fast, Live Slow" screened on the front and back, along with Beaufort NC. Evidence that would help guide the investigation at first, but never lead to the answers needed to close the case.
In my 20-some years of being here, I have 3 cases that I have not been able to find an identity on someone.
Horry County Coroner Robert Edge says his office and police have done everything they can to try to identify the woman pulled from the ocean. They never believe she was murdered or suspected foul play, and the toxicology report showed no trace of drugs or alcohol. Cuts found on her arms had Deputy Coroner Darius Fowler looking at the woman's death as a possible suicide. But Fowler says while the cuts looked intentional, they were not that deep, and it was ultimately ruled the woman drowned. Even though a drowning is not a natural act, Fowler says it's possible the woman could have jumped in the ocean or gone out swimming before becoming too tired to stay afloat.
In the days, weeks, months, and now years since this woman, who is still unknown to this day, was pulled from the ocean, police sent out pictures of that dolphin tattoo across the country, along with a sketch of the victim to see if anyone could identify her. The county coroner's office also has DNA and fingerprints on file, but with how things stand now, it's as if investigators are working a case without any of that key evidence.
Unless she's ever been fingerprinted for a job of some type or been incarcerated, her prints are probably not on file anywhere. And for the DNA, that's also a bank too, and we keep checking that. But unless somebody who's related to her, their DNA gets into this bank, we don't have any way of making a connection to it.
While much is still not known about this mysterious case, Coroner Edge believes the victim may not have lived far from the Grand Strand.
And we have a lot of people who come from Tennessee, Ohio, Kentucky, Virginia, and those areas, and those are roughly 8 to 10, 12-hour trips.
It's that belief that brought investigators back out on the search for clues at the end of summer 2013 to see if any cars were left abandoned in parking spaces at hotels or lots near the beach. Nothing came from that effort. As for the tattoo, Edge says he's hoping someone may hear about this case and see the picture of those dolphins passing the sun and be able to identify the victim.
You see this stuff on TV all the time, and TV's a lot different than real life, but you never know what might happen.
While the picture of the tattoo could go a long way in helping bring this case to an end, it's also been used to rule out other possibilities. Just about a month ago, Deputy Coroner Fowler says a caller from Alabama reached out about a possible link to a missing person. It wasn't a match. In Myrtle Beach, I'm Brennan Summers, WMBF News.
At a time when most people are still asleep, Steven Stevens heads to work making trips to places most people wouldn't dare.
As I go out in the woods, the soup kitchen, shelters, and abandoned houses in 12 counties in South Carolina, and seek out veterans who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless.
On this day, we headed to a back alley near a homeless camp somewhere in Horry County. We'll keep the exact spot a secret to protect those living there.
I just think of where I'd be if I was out here.
Can I get your name real quick, sir? I'm gonna go ahead and write you a voucher.
Stevens is one of more than a dozen people working for the Eastern Carolina homelessness organization, better known as ECHO.
I'm doing the Goodwill letter. It'll be 2 seconds.
The 28-year combat vet now uses his skill set to seek out homeless veterans.
I look for camouflage up in the air
and help them find the homes they deserve. The first step, find them.
Morning, how you doing?
The next, build their trust.
Got some goodies for you.
There aren't any veterans in this group Stevens found, but he offers up the same kind of help. He says the group is now standoffish because just last week, 2 men stormed their campsite, ripped it apart, and set it on fire.
All this was all burnt down here. Such a shame, man.
After repeated visits,
this is Mary, the one with the high heels.
Some in the camp are finally ready for what Stevens is offering.
You guys want some sweaters?
His first target is Mary Bonus.
I have been on the streets for almost 15 years.
Bonus found herself on the streets after an abusive relationship more than a decade ago. One obstacle for volunteers is Bonus, like many others, is not ready to change her lifestyle, but could use some help signing up for Social Security benefits.
Hey, what we got to do is get your ID first.
Something ECHO has been pushing for several weeks now.
And they tell me all the time, we're one step away from you.
Stevens now knows where to find her and plans to help her with the paperwork in the next few days.
So it's you and your son and her.
Next up is finding a new home for Kenny Manier's family.
We have low-income housing that we can house you in.
The 3 recently moved back to the area from out west and can't seem to catch a break. Recently, a legal problem has his income frozen, so his family will wait in a shelter until he finds them a new home.
It's hard on all of us. I mean, she doesn't like me in the situation. She doesn't like being in this separated situation. I mean, it ain't by choice.
He's going to call the landlady right now.
Within minutes, ECHO does what Kenny has been trying to do for weeks.
She'll possibly work with you until you get your income coming in.
He now has a 3-bedroom apartment he can afford with what little he currently makes.
Okay, all right.
It's a good feeling to me, you know. It's better than money, you know, really. Know that you helped out a family.
Since last December, Stevens and ECHO have housed nearly 600 people in northeastern South Carolina. If this pace keeps up, they could house another 100 or more by the end of the year. The man in the camo cowboy hat says the trick to turning around that many lives is doing what many organizations fail to do.
That's all right, man.
Keep simple promises like this one.
You take care. I love you.
He made to a homeless vet he's trying to house.
A lot of people say that and they don't show up. A lot of people they have good intentions, but they just don't show up. You know what I mean? With them showing up means a lot.
Stevens and his coworkers always show up because in some way each of them understands the struggle. Stevens spent 3 decades fighting in the military and knows the tough adjustments that come with returning home.
If you need anything else, do you have the office number? Do you have?
On top of that, 6 of his 13 coworkers were homeless at some point in their lives.
It kind of gives you a whole different view of life, you know, because I mean, any one of us could be out there. Like, a lot of people don't realize it, but they're a step away from being homeless.
With those experiences, the workers know these people are just a step away from being housed. They just need help getting there.
Sounds good? All right, he'll be waiting on your call.
Stevens says the problem is resources are out there, but the folks who need them don't know how to get them. He wishes more people would work to provide those resources, but for now,
I'm up early.
What's early, 4?
He'll be out there making sure every vet and homeless person knows they have an ally.
What a smart mouth.
In Horry County, Connor McHugh, WMBF News.